But so now that we're on that, what were some of the highs of your career?
Well, the first one, of course, is the total dream of even being selected in the draft. Now, I will tell you that I took ROTC for 4 years. I was the company commander for our company, which was the military, which was the athletic company. And we had been the laughing stock of the Corps for all those years. And I was not going to let that happen to our company. And so I took after these guys and I straightened them up, and we marched, and nobody marched any better than we did on the drill field and what have you. And so it was my heart, and I was always for the military. It meant that I was going to have to go in and serve 2 years of active duty. And so I gathered with the general who was in charge of the ROTC program. And I said, look, I have an opportunity here I'm going to be drafted by the New York Jets with a 3-year guaranteed contract. And I would like to be able to fulfill that contract. And with you, the military, when I am through with those 3 years, I will go into the military. I will go in as a second lieutenant, and I will serve my 2 years of active duty. And the interesting thing was the pay for a second lieutenant was $147 a month.
Which, is that a lot back in that day?
No, it's nothing.
No. Okay.
Even in 1965, $147 a month. So I said to him, I said, I have a choice of taking this contract for the New York Jets for 3 years plus a bonus, or I can go into the military for $147 a month. Now, which one would you do?
Obviously,
He says, I need for you to be a leader, and I need for you to sign the military contract. And I said, well, I would love to, and I will do it in 3 years.
Yeah.
But I will not do it at this time.
Because football was probably your dream, right? So you didn't want to pass it up.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And you get this opportunity. So long story, here's another one of mine that will blow you away that I don't share it much. But when I was in New York, of course, I was 1A at my draft board. Now that I have dropped out of ROTC, I was 1A for being drafted. And we got a phone call to my mother that said the next person they asked for from Chesterfield County will be your son. He needs to do something. Well, we had some guys go to a bar one night, and somebody stood up and said, if there's anybody here that needs to get into the military, into the reserves, I have a way to do it. So I followed up with this with 3 other guys. And the only stipulation was we had to stay in New York. Well, I was going to stay in New York. The other 3 were not. And so what this ended up being was a bribe.
Oh.
He wanted me to pay him to get into the military to keep from going to Vietnam. So I went to Mr. Werblin, the owner of the Jets, and I said, this is what has happened. And I said, I don't know exactly what I need to do. And that night, I had the FBI with 3 agents at my little studio apartment in Manhattan. And they said, we understand you've been offered a bribe, and we need for you to help us with this. Will you help us with this? Well, all of my life, 12 years old, 13 years old, I went to a Billy Graham crusade. I gave my life to the Lord. I lived that way. I tried to be honorable. I think he blessed me on the football field like you just can't imagine. And so that's who I am, and I can't walk away from that. A man is trying to cheat the government out of people who should normally be in the military. And so we ended up making a payoff to this man, and I didn't realize, but there was 17 FBI agents involved in this $200 payoff.
That's crazy.
Now tell me what that is. Well, it ended up that this was happening all over the country, and they had 17 other arrests that had to be made. It was it was front page story on every TV program and then also in all the newspapers. But what they did is they said New York Jet player Bob Schweickert bribes Army sergeant. Now, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
My poor mother sitting in Virginia hears this on the news that her son has bribed an Army sergeant. And of course it was backwards. And they didn't want to print it in Richmond, Virginia. They didn't believe it would be me.
Yeah.
They didn't believe I could do that, which I appreciated. And I had not told anyone. No one knew. Now I've got to call everybody and say, this is what happened. Don't believe that,
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up joining the Green Berets.
Okay. So after you were in the NFL, I never knew that.
No.
Oh.
I'm still there.
Oh.
I asked the military to give me a deferment during football season because all I had to do was go to 6 months of active duty. And so I asked them to please let me play the season, send me in January through June, and then I come back to the Jets the following year. So they let me do that the first time. Then the second time, they did not. And they said, you're going into the military. Now, you have to know that we didn't really have winning seasons, even though we have Joe Namath as our quarterback.
Yeah.
We really weren't as good a team as we were supposed to be. We were a bunch of individuals.
Yeah.
And I say that after telling you that Virginia Tech, we played together. Everybody helped each other. In high school with 16 players, you got to help each other. And then when I got to the Jets and I saw that, wait a minute, this guy's playing for himself.
Yeah.
He's playing for money. He's not playing for the team. So the last year that I was there before going into the military, they lost the last 4 games. And all we had to do was win 1 to go to the playoffs, to go to the Super Bowl. But we lost them all. So now I am in Fort Leonard Wood, and I get a phone call from you-know-who, Weeb Eubank.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to believe anything he says to me?
No.
He says to me, we have 4 games to play. If you will come back, I will guarantee you that you will play as soon as you get here. I was in fabulous shape.
And that was the New York Jets coach that had lied to you previously.
Yes, a number of times he lied to me. And I'm supposed to believe him. And so I said, Weeb, I'm not coming back. Standing in a payphone at Fort Leonard Wood. And guess what? They won the last 4 games. They beat Oakland.
Yeah.
And they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now, how's that for timing? But I have, it doesn't bother me a bit. God was in control of my life.
Yeah.
I was in one piece.
Yeah.
I was still honoring him, the Lord, and that he didn't want me involved in that.
Yeah.
And one of the toughest things I had was being a Christian on a team where there were very few Christians.
True.
There were supposed to be 4 out of 55.
That's crazy.
And so it's a different life. I'm leading a different life. And as a matter of fact, I don't tell too many people this either, but my nickname was Mother. Mother. Because somebody had to get these drinking guys home from these taverns when they're out before a game, after a game, whatever. And I could always drive because I was a non-drinker.
Yeah.
So my nickname was Mother.
That's, yeah.
So I was just, listen, I was a different person.
Yeah.
And one of the highlights after all of that was meeting with Sonny Werblin. And he says, I want to tell you something, son.
If you are enjoying listening to the Camper Report right now and you have been wondering how to start your own podcast, have I got news for you. You see, podcasting today is one of the simplest ways to connect to your audience, but it can be tricky finding the right format and host that suits you. That, my friends, is where Buzzsprout is helpful. Buzzsprout is by far the most simple and productive podcast host on the planet. For starters, you will get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and many more features that I have not listed. Their team members are friendly, and they have helped me with my every need. My favorite part about Buzzsprout is that if it enables you to track your recorded episodes easily, which is why I chose them. This podcast host is so good, it has significantly assisted over 100,000 podcasters, including myself, to get their message out to the world. The Buzzsprout team is committed to aid every question or issue that you have. Buzzsprout gets you listed to every major podcast platform, which is another feature that props up your show. It is so easy. All that is required is a quiet space and the gear that is already available to you. If you want to upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at a suitable price. They post blogs and YouTube videos every week, which gives you guidance from experts. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know the Camper Report sent you, and it helps support our show. Buzzsprout, the most complete podcast host available.
One of the highlights after all of that was meeting with Sonny Werblin, and he says, "I want to tell you something, son." He said, "You have won over every player on this team for your attitude and the way you have handled yourself as a Christian young man." Now, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that means the world. Yeah.
That means the world to me. All I have, and you asked me about working out today and trying to build something in your life. The thing you need to build is your name. Your reputation. Now, this is another cute story that my wife says I probably shouldn't tell, but I received an email, and it was from a guy whose email address was my name.
Wow. Yeah.
His email address is my name. And I sent him an email, and I said, "Sir, would you mind telling me why you use my name as your email?" He said to me, "I have two people that I have admired more than any in sports. One is Mickey Mantle."
Who is?
And I'm going, "You're putting me alongside Mickey Mantle?" And he said, "You are the other person that changed my life. The way that you lived your life, and I saw you when I was 14 years old. I watched every game you played at home and then within the area." And he said, "And you even came to a restaurant one night and took me outside. And I was the guest of honor at the thing. And I was throwing a football with him in the yard of this restaurant. And he could not get over the relationships that he had with me, what he believed I was." Now, how can you pay for that?
Yeah.
How can you buy that? You can't buy that. You can only live it to the best that you can. And I'm not pretending to be something. I'm just telling you an interesting fact that I have a lawyer in New York that uses my name as his email address.
Wow.
And I have a number, when I was going to marry my first wife who passed away, but this guy went up to her mother and said, "Is Gail getting married?" She said, "Yes." "Who's he marrying?" "Bob Schweickert." He says, "You mean the guy from Virginia Tech?" And she said, "Yes, the guy from Virginia Tech." And he said, "I am a Christian today because of who he is."
Wow.
And that's not blowing, tooting a horn or anything.
Yeah.
Just what I was trying to tell you before. It's just be who you are.
Yeah.
Or be it 100%. And let other people look to you and judge you by what you do, what you say, not by what reputation you have from the newspaper.
Right.
It has been a godsend. One of the joys we have had is teaching Sunday school to young people who are in the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And we've done this in 3 different churches. And it is something to know that you can touch a life. You, my friend, sitting there where you are going to touch lives with the way that you run your life and the
Mm-hmm.
way that you run this YouTube business or
Yeah.
whatever else that you choose to do, you are going to touch lives. People already know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you better not step out of line because they're
Right.
going to catch you. And I knew you, I met you. You don't remember it, I would imagine, a number of years ago here in Moravian
Was it in
Falls.
2013? I remember it. Yep.
Well, yeah, okay. So how many years ago was that?
It was like 8 years ago.
No.
I was like 6. Yeah,
So,
I remember, and I remember you threw a few passes to my brother, Dodie. So that was pretty, yeah, that was